Title of my paper is Brazil, Dystopian Fantasy or Subversive Documentary. In Terry Gilliam's 1985 film, Brazil, the filmmaker presents a dystopian system that is technologically, bureaucratically, and culturally flawed. Doubtlessly influenced by Orwell's 1984, Gilliam's film furthers Orwell's dystopian novel by showing that, by the actual year 1984, Western governments had become just as dysfunctional as Orwell had imagined 35 years earlier. Though Brazil is recognized today as a cult classic science fiction or fantasy film, interestingly, Gilliam's goal was not to create a fantasy film about dystopia. Rather, the director and writer's view of the film is that it is a documentary of the world we live in, and he mentioned this in a YouTube interview titled Gilliam on Brazil. With this perspective in mind, this analysis will explore the philosophical faults in Gilliam's system and the ways in which they form a social critique of modern Western society. From the initial caption at the beginning of the film, we know that Brazil is set somewhere in the 20th century. Rather than narrowing the setting to a certain year or decade, Gilliam shows that this world is closer to our own than it may appear to us on first viewing. Among the most major factors in framing this setting, the retro-futuristic aesthetic in Brazil features modern-ish information technologies in a stripped-down steampunk fashion, lush Victorian decoration which juxtaposes the institutional and homogenized living quarters, and clothing which vaguely resembles 1940s fashion in America. This disconnected setting causes viewers to question whether this world is their own or some alternate reality, and yet as the film progresses, Gilliam's insistence that Brazil is actually a documentary continues to become clearer. In the midst of this strange world, Gilliam imagines a governmental system that is technologically advanced, but ultimately unable to overcome the inevitable forces of chaos and disorder. Viewers are constantly bombarded with images of ductwork throughout every scene of the film. This insertion juxtaposes the comfortable environment in which they live and the inner workings that facilitate it. These exposed facilities clearly contrast 20th century homes in their goal of obscuring such eyesores. But interestingly, Gilliam's amorphous aesthetic seems to become the new style of the wealthy in postmodern Western society. Today, homes feature more raw, exposed ceilings and concrete flooring, much like the institutionalized style featured in the film. Yet, in the film, though technology seems to be transparent in its functioning, appearance may be the only thing that is properly functioning in the system. Sam Lowry, or Jonathan Pryce, the actor, his broken thermostat and clock system, the coffee machine which dispenses his morning toast, the broken elevator in the Department of Information Retrieval, and most importantly, the beetle that causes the fatal misprint Buttle instead of Tuttle, all serve to show that humans' desire to impose order on the world is futile. Something as small as an insect can cause a chain of events that brings the entire system and its ability to function into question. While the governmental system in Brazil is supposed to create stasis and stability, it's unable to overcome the reality that humans and technology are imperfect. Through these images, Gilliam shows that a society that is reliant on technology in creating order is necessarily flawed. Modern Western systems of government rely on technology to further justice. Most recently, the American Department of Homeland Security has fulfilled Gilliam's 1985 vision of invasive and largely infertile information retrieval. The seemingly unending war on terror and the resulting wiretapping done by Homeland Security globally has caused many people to question the practices and effectiveness of modern information technology. But, as Gilliam shows, this reliance on technology is not the problem itself. In Brazil, reliance on technology results from humans' desire for security, and this frames the imperfection of the bureaucracy. Workers within the system merely attempt to maintain stability. At the Department of Records, employees appear to be productive when being watched by their manager, and as soon as he leaves, they stop work and watch television. When the Central Services technicians show up to fix Sam's air conditioning, they are portrayed as clowns and unintelligent cogs in the system. As they are continually depicted in the film, employees know how to keep the status quo in order to preserve their employment. The managers too show to be inept and without any sense of purpose. Sam's boss, Mr. Kurtzman, or Ian Holm the actor, is technologically unskilled and hides away in his office, afraid of making decisions. Mr. Warren, or Ian Richardson the actor, Sam's boss at the Department of Information Retrieval, makes decisions on the fly as he is approached by a horde of expediters. And at the top of them all, Mr. Helpman, or Peter Vaughn, the actor, is physically disabled, and he's a seasoned bureaucrat who merely serves to continue honoring the ghost in the machine. In this system, imagination and creativity are discouraged for the sake of keeping one's position within society. Just as the government employees are static and sterile, civilians likewise strive for homogeneity. In a strange parody of America's Christmas shopping season, in Brazil, donations can be made to consumers for Christ, and Sam keeps receiving the same useless executive toy from family and friends. The system proliferates this homogeneous consumer culture, and the citizens accept it as normal. In addition, Mrs. Ida Lowry, or the actress Katherine Helmond, and Mrs. Terrain, the actress Barbara Hicks, serve as representatives of the senior generation of women who, through constant plastic surgery, attempt to make themselves look young again. Indeed, it seems the only imaginative thing about this world is the setting itself. Thus, Sam Lowry becomes the imaginative savior of the film. As his daydreams of flight and fighting dark forces begin creeping into his work life, as can be seen when he attempts to save Jill Layton, or the actress Kim Greist, Sam also begins to question the legitimacy of the system. In his dreams, he fights a giant samurai, and when Sam manages to kill him and remove the mask, he realizes that it is himself. As critic Ben Willer notes, the samurai, or Samuri, is a symbol of Sam's struggle with the totalitarian system. Though Sam believes he is fighting a dark opponent, the battle is really against himself and his role as a member of the bureaucracy. In the end, Sam's semi-conscious rebellion against the system results in his captivity and subsequent insanity. But though they possess his body, Sam escapes in his mind, imagines being freed by Tuttle and his men, and he goes off to live peacefully off the land in the countryside with Jill. Sam's insanity becomes clear when Mr. Helpman tells Jack Lint, or Michael Palin, the actor, "He's got away from us," and Jack replies, "I'm afraid you're right, Mr. Helpman, he's gone." So in the face of a creatively oppressive society, Gilliam seems to be saying that insanity is an acceptable escape for imaginative people. In light of Gilliam's depiction of dystopia, Western societies, particularly America, seem to be similar in many ways. From the seat-filling employees of bureaucracies, constant terrorist bombings, and failed information intelligence, to the increasing struggle of citizens to differentiate themselves as individuals within society, Gilliam shows that modern systems of government are essentially flawed. At the heart of the matter lies people's desire for security and stability, and their reliance on technology that results from this anxiety to know everything, all at once, all the time. So if Brazil's Achilles heel is a beetle, what could ours prove to be?